Hello everybody, my name is Mark, I'm a storyteller. I'm living here in Blackpool, bringing some storytelling to the town and collecting stories and really engaging with the culture of the place. I arrived in Blackpool about a week before the world went into lockdown. Blackpool is the synecdoche of the forgotten coastal town. Isolation is a big problem here, and for 4 months I was totally alone. People, I want to hear your stories. I want to do storytelling with you. And it's been very hard because of the pandemic. Because I want to be really careful not to give anybody any germs. So I'm very happy we can meet digitally and do it this way. So I'm going to tell some stories. You're going to be involved in the stories. And we're going to do it all together. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Excellent.
One.
So since we're all storytellers now, we're going to have to warm up. And the most important part of the storyteller is the tongue. So we're going to warm up our tongues. So all of you have to stick out your tongues as far as they will go, like this. Yeah? 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 Where's your tongue, Jim? There it is. And now we're going to do Jack and Jill all together. Okay? Okay? Good.
My inner 4-year-old is happy.
1. Jack
and Jill.
Wonderful. Now if you move your mouth, you feel all those muscles are alive in like a new way. And it's very good. Also, you're freshly humbled. And humility is very important for someone in a profession. So here we go. Once upon a time, not so very long ago, here in Lancashire, it was believed that there was some fortune in the way that you were born. If your mother's feet were facing west when you entered the world, you grew up to be tall. South, you'd be a skilled liar. East, you'd be cunning. North, you'd be noble, forthright, and true. And it just so happened that there was a pregnant couple living here in Lancashire back in that time when this was believed, and they wanted their son to be noble, forthright, and true. So they positioned their bed in the middle of the room awkwardly, got their compass out, made sure the foot of the bed is facing north, diagonally, awkwardly, and that's where they slept. But every night of the pregnancy, because when you're pregnant, some night, in the middle of the night, you might have a baby. Shoots out of her. I've never seen a baby get born, but I assume it's just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that, yeah.
This baby is beautiful, healthy, happy, and normal in every single way. And they sit on the side of the bed, feet over the edges, nursing it and stroking its head. But wouldn't you know it, a second baby born off the edge of the bed. The dad pulls out the compass. The first child was born facing due north, just like the prophecy. The second child was born facing south by southwest. And there's no prophecy for that. And I hate to tell you this, but I must, because it happened so. They call that firstborn son true because of the prophecy. And the secondborn son they call untrue. Not good parenting, but that's what happened. And those two kids grew up in the forest of Lancashire. And one day, when they're about my age, young men, their parents gather them around and they say, "Kids, my darling boys, you have to leave home. All the stuff in the world for you is out there. There's nothing for you here in the woods. You need to go to a town like Blackpool to find your fortune." And True, he agrees. He says, "Thank you, Mum. Thank you, Dad. This is sensible. I just asked if I could take some supplies for the journey." And their parents say, "Sure, take whatever you need for your journey." Now, Carol, what would you take on a journey?
Change your clothes.
Change your clothes. What kind of clothes?
Trousers and boots.
Trousers and boots. Very good. Deb Kerr, what would you take on a journey? What are the essentials?
Oh, definitely some kind of tasty food, because I'd have to eat something tasty on the way. So I'd take, I don't know, I'd steak and kidney pie.
Steak and kidney pie. Only the finest. Steak and kidney pie. How about you, Jim? What would you take on a journey?
I'd take water.
Water. Oh, Jim's very sensible. He takes a big canter in the water. And he's shaking his dad's hand and he's kissing his mom on the cheek. When he hears behind him his brother's very angry, he says, "Mom, Dad, how can you do this to me? Kicking me out of my own home, how dare you?" Storms out of the house, doesn't say a word more to him. True walks all day and all night. And when it comes to the night time, he sits by a fire, takes off his boots, warming his toes, and just a little crust of that pie, saving some for later. But out of the forest, who should stumble but his brother, Untrue? And Untrue looks much the worse for wear. He's covered in scratches from branches. He's covered in mud from puddles. He's even managed to lose one of his boots in one of the particularly thick puddles of that Lancashire forest. And he says, "Oh, my brother, how lucky I am to have found you. I've been wandering in the woods. It's been so hard. I'm so lost. I'm so hungry. Would you please share your fire with me?" And True says, "Sure, I can deny you nothing because you are my brother." And he invites him by the fire. He just says, "Please remember, we only have these limited supplies. So leave some for tomorrow for the rest of the journey. It might be a long one." And if any of you have a greedy brother, you know what happens next, because Untrue eats a bit of that pie and a bit of that water, then eats a bit more of that pie and washes it down with some more of that water. In fact, then, before you know it, he's licking clean the pastry case. And he's finished the decanter. And True is furious. He said, "Brother, how could you do this? I told you not to waste all the food. And if you've ever had a fight with your sibling, you know that these words often turn to blows." And I hate to tell you this, but I must, because it happened so. Those brothers ended up rolling around on the forest floor. Untrue grabs a burning stick from that fire, plunges it into his brother's eyes, and runs off, taking the old empty water, taking his brother's shoes, taking his brother's spare cloak that Carol so kindly suggested that he bring, even his spare trousers, leaving him there covered in ash and mud and blood on the floor. Very sad. Don't worry, this is the saddest bit of the story. True starts to cry, and he realizes he's stuck in the woods alone. He's never been in the woods before. He's heard about the creatures of the woods, the earthworms and the budgies and the hedgehogs, and he's afraid. So he decides to climb a tree and wait there till morning. So he climbs a tree, hand over hand, foot over foot. He hangs there, thinking he'll feel the light of day dapple down upon his face in a couple of hours' time. But as he's hanging there, he hears all the animals scuttle around him underneath. He hears with his ears the black and white voice of the badger talking to many other animals. And the badger says, "Dear friends, we're gathered here today because it's the solstice." And it is the solstice today. And this is when the animals come together to tell their stories to one another, to tell their secret stories. And if any of you know a secret, let it be told now. True hears with his ears the slick red voice of the fox. Now the fox says, "I know a secret. I know that the king's blindness can be cured by the dew from the flowers right here in this forest, but I won't tell the king. For too long with my people, the fox has been hunted with the horse and the hound in this kingdom. I owe him nothing." "Very well," says the badger. "Who else has a secret?" "I have a secret," said the prickly brown voice of the hedgehog. "For too long with my people, the hedgehogs, have been squashed on the highways of this kingdom, so I won't tell the king. But I know that the people in the town grow sick because there's a great toad down the well that poisons the water. Because of the plight of my people getting squashed on the roads, I will tell nobody." "Very well," says the hedgehog. "Who else has a secret?" True hears with his ears the slick brown voice of a weasel. "I know a secret," says the weasel. "But I know the people in town grow stupid because there's a tree in the square where all the knowledge comes from, and there's a big rusty chain around the roots that stop the knowledge getting out. But I won't tell the king. For too long of my people, the weasel's been disrespected, called cowardly, slimy, useless rubbish in this kingdom. I will tell him nothing." True begins to feel the dappled light of morning come down upon his face, and all the animals shake each other's tiny paws and scurry away. And he feels a plan hatching in his head, so he climbs down from that tree, scurries around blindly, remember, on the floor till he finds a flower, like the fox mentioned, and he pushes the dew into his eyes, and he can see. Gathers a handful of those flowers and he storms up to the castle. Now back then, this part of the country was the kingdom of Redhead. So he goes up to historic Redhead, raps on the castle door, and somehow convinces them to let him in. And there, at the top of the room, is the king. There he is, regal. Do you like his crown? Looks a lot like a lampshade, doesn't it? But there's the king. You're the king, Neil. Pam Neil. Give us a wave, king. Very good. True says to the king, "Your honor, I believe I can cure your blindness." And the king says, "If you can cure my blindness, I'll give you anything you want." Right, king?
Ooh. Go on.
Wait, no, you're the king. You're offering this to True. So say the words in your kingliest voice.
Right.
If you can cure my blindness.
If you can cure my blindness, I will give you anything you desire.
Very good. Thank you, Your Honor. So True goes up to the king and he pushes the dewdrops into his eyes. And by Jove, the king can see. It's a miracle. So the king says, True, I made you a promise. I'll give you anything you want. And True says, I only want one thing. For too long have my friends, the foxes, been hunted with the horses and the hounds in this kingdom. I want that to stop today. Well, says the king, that's a contentious issue that you brought before us here. There's going to be some resistance to that in the kingdom. But I said you could have anything you wanted. So he signs a law, stamps a bill, and it is so. The practice is banned. True says to the king, I believe that I can cure the sickness in your town. And the king says, well, what was the king saying?
Tell me all about it.
If I tell you about it, will you give me anything I want?
Yes, obviously.
In fact, I'll show you. So True leaves the castle, goes down to the square, and it goes to the well, remember? And in the bottom of that well, he looks, the water's awful murky. So he rolls up his sleeve, puts his arm down the well, and he pulls out this horrible, filthy toad with big boggle eyes and slime oozing out of every pore. And are there any vegetarians in the crowd? Is anybody a vegan? Oh well, just in case. He takes it and he throws it into the sea. He doesn't squish it. Don't worry, it's a vegan story. And then he goes back to the king and he says, King, look around. And the king looks around and everybody in his town is looking very healthy. They're doing lunges, they're taking daily walks, they're drinking plenty of water, all that stuff that healthy people do. And the king says, well, you've done it. Like I said, you can have anything you want. And True says, I want only one thing. For too long have my friends, the hedgehogs, been squashed on the highway to this kingdom. I want tiny little crossways. I want bridges and tunnels. I want little yellow high-vis jackets for the hedgehogs. Well, sings the king, you're an eccentric guy, but let it be so. I like your actions, Pam. I saw you think just then in a very kingly way.
I was just trying to wonder how you're going to get a high-vis jacket on a hedgehog, but hey.
Oh, you need lots of tiny holes for the needles.
Yes.
That can be a craft project for you.
Thank you.
It's at this moment in the story that True notices the king's daughter, extremely beautiful. There she is. She looks at True and True looks away. True looks at her and she looks away. There's an electric spark. Do you feel the spark, Carol?
Oh, yes. I feel the spark.
A bit more effort.
I feel the spark.
This might be relevant later.